Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we are undertaking a really critical mission. We're doing a deep dive into this specialized archive of lexicon, focusing on words that don't just, describe the world. They fundamentally change how you process these colossal concepts, things like time, essence, and instinct.
It's an exercise in intellectual refinement, really. We approach language with this guiding idea that words are the clothes your thoughts wear.
I love that phrase.
Right, and if your thoughts are moving mountains, you want to make sure they're not dressed in, like, frayed denim. So we're here to tailor those thoughts in high-quality, memorable vocabulary, the kind that sticks with you.
Absolutely. And the source material provided us with three terms that, they really act like master keys. They unlock entirely new ways of categorizing the world. Our job is to move past the simple, two-line dictionary definitions and extract the really important nuggets of insight that show you why these words matter.
And those three foundational concepts are anchored in these words. First, archaic, which forces us to confront the weight of the ancient past and its functional obsolescence.
Mm-hmm.
Then quiddity, which defines the true kind of irreducible essence of a thing. And finally, atavism, which speaks to the deep primal instincts still living inside all of us.
They seem so different at first.
They do. They appear disparate, but they actually form a framework for analyzing permanence versus change.
Okay, let's unpack this, and let's start with time. When we think about things being old, we have a scale, right? There's old, historic, ancient. But there's a specific, powerful way to categorize the past that kind of demands action. And that brings us to our first term, archaic.
Archaic. A-R-C-H-A-I-C. It's an adjective, and at its core, it's defined as very old or old-fashioned, belonging to an earlier period. But if that was all it meant, we could just say old.
Exactly.
The real value of this word is in the implied critique it carries.
I think this is where the deep dive truly starts, because the sources are so adamant about this. Archaic isn't just about age. It suggests belonging to a different age entirely. One so removed that whatever you're describing is now functionally no longer practical.
Yes, that's the key, not practical. It's like the difference between seeing a cool vintage car and seeing a car that, well, it can no longer run on modern fuel or even navigate a modern highway.
Right. It can't function.
Exactly. So when you deploy the word archaic, you aren't just commenting on history. You are signaling a crucial disconnect between that object or concept and the reality of the present. It implies obsolescence.
So it's a word that almost demands an update.
It does, a replacement, or at the very least, a critical discussion about its current utility.
Okay, let's look at some of the concrete, specific examples the source material provides, especially the social implications. Think about an archaic law. Maybe it's a law from, the 1800s that is technically still on the books. Something about, say, Sunday trading hours, but it makes zero logical sense in a 247 economy.
That archaic law creates immediate friction. It serves as this bureaucratic time capsule that actively impedes modern efficiency or social custom. It's not a cozy antique, it's an outdated mandate. And the same applies to technology, maybe even more vividly. If a major government system still runs on an archaic computer setup that requires a 20-year-old operating system and physical floppy disks.
Oh, wow. Floppy disks.
Right. You immediately recognize the massive vulnerability and the inefficiency there.
You feel the weight of time when you see that floppy disk.
Yeah.
But it's more than history. It signals a paradigm shift. That system isn't just historical, it's archaic. It's a relic from an age where speed, capacity, security standards, they were all fundamentally different.
It speaks less about mere age and more about functional irrelevance.
Right.
But this raises a fascinating point for you to consider. Couldn't something archaic still be beautiful or valuable? A suit of armor is archaic, but it belongs in a museum. How does that distinction hold up when you're using the word?
That's a great challenge. And the sources suggest that if an item is purely historical or artistic-like, that suit of armor or those farming tools, it's typically placed in a museum where its lack of practicality is the whole point. But when the term archaic is applied to a living system, a political policy, a business model, a technology, it carries this necessary and often negative evaluation.
Precisely. If we are talking about functionality, archaic means deficient. If we're talking about pure preservation, it means historical. That distinction is key for using the word effectively.
The museum example clarifies this perfectly.
The museum's collection included several archaic tools that were used for farming thousands of years ago. They're revered for their history, but no one is putting them back into use next season.
So When you apply this word, you are essentially drawing a line in the sand. You're saying this concept belongs on the other side of progress.
It anchors us firmly in the present while providing a clear benchmark for how far standards have advanced. And if archaic deals with the outer casings of things, the form that changes and becomes obsolete, then we have to ask, what's the constant? What's the irreducible core, the timeless element that survives?
And that's the question that leads us straight to our second concept, a word that tackles the absolute heart of a subject.
Quiddity.
Quiddity. Q-U-I-D-D-I-T-Y. It is a brilliant, dense noun referring to the inherent nature or essence of someone or something. It's rooted in medieval philosophy, specifically scholasticism, which spent centuries debating this very idea. Loosely translated from the Latin, it was exactly what you said, the whatness.
The whatness of things. I love that. It makes it instantly accessible while still having that, high-level philosophical tone. If we stripped away all the archaic parts of our world, what would we be left with? The sources explain this with a wonderful mental exercise.
Yeah, let's take that mental exercise slowly so you can really grasp the weight of this idea. Consider any ordinary object, like a simple table.
You can describe its color. Maybe it's brown, its shape rectangular, its size 4 feet long, and its material oak. These are all accidents changeable external attributes. If you paint the table blue, its quiddity hasn't changed.
Right. You could even saw the legs off, make it a coffee table. You could cover it in stickers. All those external factors are secondary. The quiddity is the part that still makes it conceptually a table, a flat surface supported for holding objects. It's the intrinsic function or idea.
It's the essential property, the core nature that defines it. This is why the concept is so valuable. It forces you to look beyond the surface, beyond the branding, beyond the presentation, to find the irreducible truth.
That application is concrete enough for objects, but it gets really difficult when we apply it to people. How do we isolate the quiddity of an individual? How do we find that whatness in a person, separate from all their social roles and jobs?
That's the deepest challenge. Applied to an individual, quiddity is that unique spark, the raw, unfiltered essence that defines a person. It's the personality, the core values, the way they approach ethical decisions. It's the self that remains even if they lose their job or change their location or completely alter their appearance.
So it's the internal blueprint, the fundamental identity that you can't engineer or buy. It means if we tried to describe your quiddity, we wouldn't talk about your professional achievements or your favorite coffee order. We'd discuss your intrinsic character, your restlessness, your humor, your innate sense of curiosity.
Exactly. And the source material highlights how difficult this essence is to pin down, particularly in creative or natural contexts. It takes deep reflection to get there.
That artist trying to capture the ocean is such a perfect example that makes this concept so memorable. The artist spent weeks trying to capture the quiddity of the ocean, looking past the waves to find its true, restless spirit.
Yes. The surface of the ocean, the color, the foam, the sound, those are all external changing features. The quiddity is its deep, fundamental characteristics, its immense power, its ceaseless, overwhelming motion, and that ancient, untamable wildness.
So the artist wasn't painting water.
No. They were trying to paint the idea of the ocean.
It encourages you, the listener, to engage in a kind of deep, reflective critique of everything you encounter. Like when you read a news story, what is the quiddity of the issue, independent of the political wrapping paper it's wearing? To understand this word is to seek fundamental truth.
It definitely changes how you perceive your environment. And if we've spent time looking at things defined by time, archaic, and things defined by essence, quiddity, let's now turn our attention to the part of us that remembers our own ancient essence, even when we don't realize it.
Right. Moving from fixed essence to recurring instinct. Our final word connects us not just philosophically, but biologically to our deepest ancestry. Let's dive into atavism.
Atavism. A-T-A-V-I-S-M. A noun. The definition is pretty straightforward. A tendency to revert to something ancient or ancestral. A throwback. But this word is incredibly rich because it describes how the past breaks into the present.
A ghost of the past reappearing, as you called it earlier. So is this word used strictly in biology for physical traits, or does it extend to behavior and culture?
Oh, it absolutely extends. While it's often used in biology to describe a rare physical trait.
Right, like a physical throwback.
Exactly, like a tailbone being unusually pronounced, harkening back to a primate ancestor. But it's even more fascinating when applied to culture and behavior. Atavism is a behavioral memory from our ancestors that suddenly pops up in the modern world. It's a trait or instinct that had functionally disappeared for generations and suddenly reappears, proving the primal code is always running in the background.
And this is where we can connect it directly to your own everyday experience. We can reference those primal feelings mentioned in the source material. Think about those moments when modern life just dissolves.
For instance, you're camping. You have a propane stove, plenty of matches, but you feel that deep, almost unexplained urge to build a fire by hand, scraping sticks together.
I felt that. Right.
Or maybe you're in a brightly lit park, but you step under the canopy of a dark, dense forest, and you feel a sudden, involuntary sense of fear or caution.
That moment of deep instinctive fear.
Yeah.
It isn't rational.
No.
It's atavism. It's a powerful automatic response that was vital for survival for our distant ancestors. They faced hidden predators in the dark, and they relied on fire for safety and survival. Despite having Netflix and video doorbells, that deep connection to the primal fears and needs of the savannah is still embedded in our brains.
It reminds us that we are not solely products of our sophisticated 21st century environment. We are built on a bedrock of millions of years of evolution. And the most compelling examples often manifest not just individually, but on a collective level.
Like that powerful group behavior scenario the sources provided. There was a certain atavism in the way the crowd roared during the storm, as if responding to a primal force they didn't quite understand.
That roar! It wasn't a rational cheer about weather patterns. It was an instinctive, emotional outpouring in the face of overwhelming, terrifying natural power. It taps into a shared ancestral experience of being completely vulnerable before nature. The advanced technology that protects us daily just vanished for a moment, and we reverted to a fundamental, collective awe and fear.
What's so fascinating about atavism is that, unlike the archaic law we talked about, which is inefficient and needs to be discarded, the atavistic response is still efficient. It's a fundamental part of our emotional architecture.
A very powerful part.
It's a reminder of our deep roots, despite the veneer of high-rise living and virtual reality.
This word essentially helps us categorize the deep internal forces that drive human irrationality and massive social behavior. When a political movement or a mass panic takes hold, often what's driving it isn't logic. It's a powerful, surging, atavistic instinct for tribal belonging or survival.
So we have covered a tremendous amount of conceptual ground today. We've equipped you with 3 words that describe age, essence, and instinct. Let's quickly recap the 3 tools we've added to your vocabulary.
We started with archaic, outdated, belonging to an earlier period, and carrying that necessary connotation of being functionally impractical in the modern context.
Then we explored quiddity, the fundamental irreducible essence or whatness of a thing, requiring us to strip away the changeable features to find the absolute core truth.
And finally, atavism, an ancestral trait or instinct that resurfaces, demonstrating the persistence of primal, deep-seated behaviors in our highly technological modern age.
And don't let this knowledge just sit there. The immediate application straight from our source material is simple. Look for the quiddity in the things you use every day. Start applying that filter. Find the true, unchangeable essence of your work, your relationships, your environment.
Use these words to sharpen your perception of time, identity, and behavior. Understanding these concepts allows you to analyze situations with a new precision, seeing beyond the surface level, beyond the temporary, to the deep, defining connections that structure our reality.
And here is a final provocative thought for you to carry forward after this deep dive. If atavism represents a behavioral link to the deep past that refuses to die, how might acknowledging the archaic aspects of our modern society, those outdated systems or practices we still cling to, help us better isolate the quiddity of our shared human nature, the essential truth that truly defines us? Something to mull on until our next deep dive.